I have been thinking about doing things, good deeds, um, letting God work through whoever, you, me, I, they, we. Um, uh, that when you do that, that's like also like that effect of, well, well, you can also, you can compare it to the movie. That's what I'm thinking right now. The movie with I think it's a boy who writes this school project, or this new way of thinking that you have to do. I don't remember what amount of things or good things to do something for another person, and there was this thing of someone on a bridge trying to commit suicide, and some other. That's the man I remember most. And there are other persons, and they do good things. I don't remember the name of the movie, but I think that's also how, if people are not that atheistic, and instead think about doing good for other people. I think that movie was so beautiful because it. I have a friend who talked about when the bus drivers in Copenhagen were rude, then it created the same kind of effect in a bad way. So if you and I remember Copenhagen the same way. A lot of angry people in shops and not that much customer service, or talking to people in a friendly way. So in the same way, if you do good for other people, then it will create that effect, and then it will get your way, and then not in a circle, but and that's a very nice thought. So it's, you can call it karma, but maybe you can just call it some kind of spiral, or no, that's it's more like this octopus thing, that this is the godly thing that sends out these good vibrations, and then there's a lot of octopuses. That's maybe it can be viewed that way. The relationship with God in ourselves that make us maybe feel, oh, I think I will take this to the second-hand shop, or I will go to this town, and then you meet some person who you meet in the street, and you talk to that person, and maybe there was something in that conversation that maybe both persons or just one of the persons needed, or you take these things to the second-hand shop, and then another person enters, and wow, that was exactly what I've been looking for. And I think that's a nice thought. I think we all need sometimes to get some bullshit out of our inner system, and that's how I think that even though you curse and you swear and you as long as you don't hurt other people, then not hurt, but hurt, then it can then I think that's not something that will ruin the way the relationship with God in each one of us can do good things in life, in society, in the world. But as long as, well, I think sometimes we all need, because then you couldn't go to a therapist, because that therapist would be would just get a lot of bad or maybe not bad, but a lot of negativity, and that would then create some bad karma. But I don't think of it that way. Well, maybe that I went to a therapist back in 1999, and I was talking to him about my bro, and he it was like he didn't listen to what I was saying. And I was thinking, I was asking him, you're not listening? Oh, yes, he was. And I said, oh, you just seemed a bit, what's it called, when you're not there, but you, like he was in his head thinking about something else. But well, he said he wasn't thinking about something else, but I could just, his eyes were like distant, and I could tell he was just saying yes, 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 yes. So I never came there again to talk to him. So I got these. You can get these 10 times at the if you go to the doctor, and someone there has been some kind of tragic experience in your life, then you can go there and you can get these 10 times with some kind of help from the system, because they pay, I don't know how many percentages, but then you only have to pay, you have to pay less than what it actually costs. So I was there 2 times, and every time I'd been there, I went to a cafe on the other side of the street. I was sitting there writing in this little notebook I had about what maybe because I felt that I was talking to myself, because he was just thinking about other things. So he was not present. So I was, when people don't listen, you just feel you're talking to yourself. So I was writing things down afterwards. And that's when I was a child and came at my friend's house, because my family was very loud and a lot of noise. So I went to my friend's house to relax, and I got something from her family that I didn't get at my own, and family. I think that she gave me this book with some not exercise but things you can, like school papers where you can with something you could color and then I think when Laura Palmer started the Twin Peaks series started, then I started writing a journal, a diary, and it has always helped me to, get things out of the system. And those diaries were only for me to read, not for other people to read and to. But when I was in the hospital in Copenhagen, I brought this big sports bag with me, and they took it, and because I don't know why, just to keep it until I was going to leave the hospital, and I don't know. I was there for I think a few months actually. It was 2 people had committed suicide, so I just well I was leaving the hospital with no medication and no diagnosis, and they thought that there was a lot for me in life still. I said I don't think so, but I of course hoped. And then these diaries, this sports bag of diaries with a lot of diaries, like this big bag, and I stopped when I moved to Vejle. I stopped writing these diaries, and I started using songs to process things. But then I moved to my ex's house, and he, I don't know, I was talking about burning all the diaries, but then I decided not to, because this big bag could be in the garage, and it could be closed so nobody could enter. And I felt I trusted the decision I made to put them in the garage, because I didn't think anything would happen to them. I trusted that decision. But when I was moving, I went to the garage to get this bag, but it was not there. And I remember that I put it there. And then my ex said that this guy who worked for him had moved some things from the garage, so maybe he had taken the bag as well. But then he decided that it might be in this house with a messy house that's more like what's it called? Deposit. Now it's not. So a place where you just put a lot of crap. That it might be there. He said it's not gone, because I haven't said it's gone. So but I haven't, because he hadn't looked there. So maybe it was there, and we went there together, and there were some of my things, some chairs and other stuff. that I don't remember how were not many of my things in his house where we lived together. So we went there, and he couldn't find the bag anywhere, and he would still look for it, but I still haven't gotten it back. So I don't know if it has disappeared forever or it will return to me. That someday he will call me and say, I found the bag, I will return it to you. Because then he can give it to me, and I can I will be able to read these diaries again. I remember I had some kind of thought about I don't remember if it was a song I wrote or something, a short story or something, being in a tower, not a tower that I couldn't get out of, but a tower, and being up there, bringing my bag of diaries and opening it to read this and to find out who am I. Not that I don't know who I am, but to look back and then somehow because now I do it by thinking. It's like it's not that I'm not dead, but I am thinking about my life and looking back at my life. I've been almost everywhere in my life because I haven't had much to do the last 4 years in my daily life. So I have looked back. Some things I have reprocessed, because when things happen that remind you of other things, then it sometimes revives feelings from past experience, and so I have done a lot of we all have a soul, or I don't know what you call it, it depends on what you believe in, but I have done some soul searching to find out what happened in my life, and I don't know why, but I just have. So writing these journals, I thought when I was a child, well, not when I was a child, when I got older, when I was young, I started thinking that having been somewhat a part of my friend's family, and having learned things from her mother, who was a teacher, and later got an education to be a therapist, studying psychology, like I have also done a bit on book, that we talk about what's it called, sunshine stories, if you translate it directly. That's if a person grows up in some kind of environment and then gets a different life from what the person came from. A lot of people say, well, anything is possible in Denmark, not like the American dream, but there's no social heritage that will prevent you from being able to do what you dream of, not in night dreams, but visions you have and things you want to do in the future. But I think there's a problem with that, and it might not be because of your upbringing. It might be because I don't know. It's like people can smell, not smell, but they can immediately tell. And I mean, you can use that gift to see, is a person someone who has had a hard life and who was not really predestined to reach a lot of goals in their through their lives, from the perspective of how was the upbringing and how does that affect life and your opportunities in life. But I think people can, I think I try to use how I analyze people, or in a different way. It's like some people see that as, oh, there's a victim and you I don't think that is how people should act, because it's like I watched a movie with this woman, and I think she was told by other people that, well, if you can't love yourself, how do you expect others to love you? And I think it was also in the movie that at the end of the movie she concluded that, well, if people can't love me because I don't love myself, then how does that make them able to make their own judgments and judgments, or does that mean that they can't that they automatically think, well, there's a person, she can't love herself, then I'm not gonna love her either. Well, why should you treat a person nicely just because you think he or she can't love him or herself? Then I will not either. That means that you're actually acting like the person you are facing, meaning that, are you just copying that person, or so I think it's like pulling yourself loose from not only that person you're facing, but also there's a lot of things written in books, and that when you watch movies, a lot of hidden messages, and a lot of like the metaphors, a lot of things being said between the lines, and also how do the actors look? They look like that and that. Then I will automatically like persons who look that way, and people who don't have this look that you have to have. I mean, my nose is not exactly the nose of an actor or a singer or these beauty queens or something like that. So when people see that, you know, if you look at kids' stories from childhood, you will see witches with noses like this. And if you I mean, all these messages that say, oh, she's a witch, then she is evil, and then she has to be treated like not in a good way, and oh, she looks like that actor, and she is very beautiful because all of the actors look exactly like that, then she is beautiful. And you know, I think people have to, that's when I talked with a friend when I was living in what's it called? A place with a lot of young people. We had a house and we had a share in this house, each of us. I said to him that I like people who are timeless, who are not just the time they live in, but who can see this from outside. I also heard this politician saying that we have to look back in history, that when were the changes made and how. And if we just keep ourselves inside this box all the time, we will never be able to see the bigger picture from, I don't know, from where, anywhere. And then we will keep making the same mistakes, as well as changes that are okay, and not change things that much, and there will be a lot of losers and a lot of victims and a lot of winners and a lot of people who have success. So so I think that if we are able to see this from outside, I mean, if you just look at the TV and you're like half sleeping and it just enters your brain and you don't think about what you are watching, like watching a movie, and you watch it from the start to the end and you don't think about what does this mean in my life, then it just gets directly inside your brain, and then your world is being affected by this. If you, if you think that you like the movie and you think, wow, she's beautiful, she looks like that, I think it's, and also when you read books and some theory says, well, when you have been a victim of this, you will act like that and that and that and that, then that is not seeing things when you read theory. I think you have to process it in your brain and say, do I believe in this or not? And I think that a lot of scientific theory, even though you don't write an essay at university, then you can disagree with great theorists, even though they might have gotten the greatest grades in university, or they are so acknowledged and people think they are like gurus or God or something like that. Then I think we are entitled to have our own opinions about things, and also listen when people say, even though you're a therapist and you say, that can't be, then if you hasn't been in that situation, then I think we have to think about how people act differently in different situations, because our lives have been differentiate from each other's. So I think we can't just say, well, because I had a friend who was a music therapist, and it was like all the books he had read, they were the truth, and he couldn't see things from other perspectives than saying, if I said, well, it isn't like that for me, okay, then he would say, well, it is because the books say it is that way. Not that directly, but yeah, I'm just saying that when people don't love themselves, it doesn't mean that you cannot love that person, or that it doesn't mean that that you or I have to say, well, I will treat her or him or her or him or her, she, them, or whoever, that way because they don't love themselves. And I can tell, and then I will hit them in the face, either physically or verbally or anyway I can do it. So I don't think that's what's it called, when you are independent and you can think for yourself. I don't think you are able to do that if you analyze a person, like you say the first impression. That's very important. It might be, but I know that I'm not very good at interviews, at job interviews, because I can sometimes judge myself in the middle of an interview, and I would say, that was stupid thing to say. I'm not very good at, not like that, but more like I'm, apologizing for being who I am, or saying, well, I'm not good at that, or getting insecure. And when I start working, then they will see that I am actually different from who I am at the interview. I take a lot more responsibility. I'm much better at doing my job. That is not, when you watch X Factor, there was this girl who was nervous and her voice was shaking. It was like that when I was in high school and we were making a musical, and I went to the audition. That was the first time I was ever at any audition for some kind of audition, job, interview, or whatever. And I was so nervous, my voice was shaking, and I got these 3 little parts or roles in the play. I think I only got 1, but then I got 3, and I'm singing 3 songs, and they saw, wow, she does well. She's and that's why I got more roles and then 1 and then 2, 3, because I think they could see, oh, she's not that nervous when she's on stage. But when you have to present yourself in a way where you have to please other people, because that's what you have to do at a job interview, and you have to look good in their eyes, then if you're not that kind of person who's good at pleasing other people and who doesn't even want to live like that, well, it can be very difficult, and it means that maybe you shouldn't even want to work at a place like that, because they will not be interested in new ideas, or you making some kind of mark at the company, and they will not want you to be who you are. They will want you to play a role to please them. And that's the same way. If you can't look past these things and just say, well, we can't use her because she looks insecure, and she meaning she is not good at pleasing us, then and is that because if you're working, for example, as a music teacher, I'm alone with the children, or as a teacher at a music school, I'm alone with 1 or 2 students or a group, then I will not have to, because I'm not good at I have gotten better, but I'm not good at, and I think a lot of people are not, being watched and judged. Then they will think, how can I, will he or she, the boss, still think that I'm good at teaching and that I should work at this place, if how will he, she judge me? And I think then you enter a role that says that you can't be yourself, you have to be what that person wants. But maybe that the person, the one who hired you, will think that, well, you are you can do it in a different way than I thought. Like when you see something, oh, I didn't know I needed that. Also, when you sell items, products, then people invent things that people didn't know they needed. And in the same way, if you're at a job interview and you just say what they want to hear, and I think a lot of companies want that. They have this idea in their heads, we want this and that. If you can't present that to us at the interview, then you cannot do it, and then you have not pleased us. But if people are not good at pleasing other people like that, being what they expect of you or what they, then some people just ruin things for themselves when they have to look good in the eyes of other people. And I think that's it has to be in a certain way. It has to be like this or that, and if it's not that, then they will just ditch you. And I think it's very unindependent. No. It's like it's a very narrow way of seeing people. And I think they should actually ask at an interview, are you good at presenting yourself at job interviews, or do you get nervous? Do you have any issues that makes it hard for you? And then how is that different from when you start working? So if they hear that, okay, then we can see it in that context. And because the other, just saying, well, you didn't live up to our expectations, you seem a bit nervous, you say you're not good at this, and then we don't believe it because you said that. And I think it's like, okay, then I'll just be you and say you're not good at it. Why?